I believe in this game nothing can be better than a great cheap fragrance, especially when it is long-lasting and complimenting. So here we have 5 complimented and long-lasting cheap summer fragrances. Without any further ado, I want to start by House of Armaf. Here we have Armaf Club de Nuit Iconic. So this is a blue and actually expensive smelling cheap. It is better in terms of that quality compared to most of Armaf fragrances. I have to say it is a little bit like Bleu de Chanel, but not exactly like that fragrance. I would say Bleu de Chanel EDT because it is less incensey, or at least that incensey vibe is way at the background. But I can get some other twist. It is like Takeoff Armaf on Bleu de Chanel DNA. It is not exact clone of that fragrance, but it is highly inspired. Closed eyes, I couldn't say that is a cheap fragrance, especially from House of Armaf. As I said, it smells way more expensive compared to the price, and nothing is here cheap or artificial, let's say, or overly synthetic. Lasts on me 8 hours plus, gets compliments and projection and sillage is good for first 2 hours. Another great cheap, long-lasting, appealing and complimenting fragrance that I believe I will keep recommending it to is none other than Afnan Turathi Blue. Smells very different compared to, in a good way, compared to 95% of fragrances out there, especially compared to new release fragrances. So it is fizzy, has a carbonated feel to it. It is sour, citrusy, and has a very unique stance. I like it, and we have a ton of ambroxan at the background of the fragrance, but it doesn't make it mainstream or very common type of scent. I believe that ambroxan also works great with this DNA. It is very close to Bulgari Tiger, but to be honest, yeah, this one is flatter compared to that fragrance, like simplified version of that one. I'm refreshing my memories. There is more things going on in Bulgari Tiger, but for this price I have no problem. And I get better performance and compliments with this one. So I can get like 8 hours plus longevity with 2 hours of good projection and sillage. And I like that unique stance of this one. It doesn't smell like all of newly released specialty fragrances out. Let's continue again by House of Afnan. I believe this is one of those absolutely must-have cheap fragrances. It is none other than Afnan Supremacy Not Only Intense. Yeah, it is an inspired fragrance, but not exact cologne. Something between Creed Aventus and Nishane Hajiwat, but leans more to the Hajiwat side, as it is earthy and smoky, mossy like Hajiwat at the dry down, and opening is like citrusy creamy. We have not that creaminess in the Creed Aventus, but shares lots of similarities with both of those fragrances, but it is closer to Nishane Hajiwat. It is extra de parfum concentration, 40% oil concentration, highly concentrated, sticky, loud type of fragrance. I can get like 12 hours plus longevity with this one. Definitely a must have. If you have not this fragrance in your collection, I highly recommend it. And projection and sillage is loud for first 2-3 hours. I would say a beast mode, smoky, earthy and citrusy fragrance. Another great long-lasting and at some points cheapy if you make a good internet search, I have to say, from House of Armaf, Club de Nuit Intense Man Limited Edition. If it is expensive for you, you can go buy pure parfum version of this fragrance. They smell pretty similar, but pure parfum is a bit cheaper compared to this one, like 10-15 bucks. So only another Armaf can beat Armaf. Nothing can beat this fragrance in terms of compliments. One of the best Creed Aventus inspired or alternative fragrances out there in terms of performance and compliments, especially price. So I would say it is like the most smokiest batches of Creed Aventus. Not the most citrusy, fruity opening, but Creed Aventus is all about dry down in my opinion, and this is also one of those fragrances that shines at the dry down. Just ignore that a bit artificial type of opening of this one, which I have no problem, but most of people don't like that a bit harsh kind of opening of this one. I can get solid 12 hours plus longevity with this one on the skin, like 3-4 days on the clothing, and projects loud for first 2-3 hours. Be smooth compliment fragrance. Compliment fragrance is not enough for this one. Crazy compliment fragrance, like 20 out of 10. And at number 1, we have a cheap fragrance that lasts 24 hours on my skin and on clothing like forever, 1 week, I have to say without exaggeration. But it is not as complimented as other fragrances in today's list. In terms of compliments, I would put it at number 5, but in terms of performance, it is definitely at number 1. Silver Scent Pure by Jacques Bogart. There is also silver scent, regular version of this one. I prefer that one for fall and winter, spring, but this one is more springy, summery. So it is like grape juicy. It is a bit artificial and cheap, to be honest, but in the air, for whatever reason, gets compliments. It is not as complex as most of fragrances out there, but mostly people that are not also deeply into the game give compliments to this one. So I would say it is like lemony, minty, overly sweet, but not overwhelming. It is pleasant and has some sort of grape juicy vibe to it. It is very clean at the dry down. I would say reminds me of, at some points, for example, Lacoste White, in that genre, clean, but it is way louder compared to that fragrance, and it is crazy on steroids and can be at some points offensive, but yeah, in the air smells pretty great and gets definitely compliments. As I said, 24 hours plus in terms of longevity, and projection and sillage is great for first 2-3 hours. Take care, guys.